Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
The Word Docs acknowledge that we meet on the traditional country of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains. We recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationship with this land. We acknowledge that these lands are of continuing importance to the Kaurna people living today, and we extend that respect to other Aboriginal language groups and other First Nations.
Why don't you write when you don't need money, honey? That would certainly make a hit.
Welcome back to Word Docs. I'm Dr. Amy Matthews, and I'm here once again with Dr. Alex Vickery-Howe.
Hello.
Did your voice break just then, Alex?
What was that?
Do you know what
Were
I
you
was
thinking about
genuinely
strawberry
thinking?
ice cream?
I
Is that what
was
was happening?
genuinely thinking every time we do this, I sound aggressive and Sean sounds friendly. So in my mind, I went, I'm going to try for a bit of a friendlier hello.
That was co-host Dr. Alex Vickery-Howe, and I'm also going to welcome Dr. Sean Williams.
Hi, I'm trying to be less. Alex and I are swapping roles now.
That was nice and aggressive. Well done.
Okay, I'm going to be really lovely, really lovely.
Okay, so this week we're going to launch a new series, which hopefully takes, unlike writers and their partners, where I was the only one and no one else has volunteered to do that one. I'm bringing that one back because I don't think it's fair that my life is hung out and yours isn't. So I'm leaving that with you boys. You've got to find a partner and bring them in.
Did you hear the creaky door then?
I did. I heard
Writers
a very
and their
creaky
partner,
door.
and someone's deceased partner came through the.
So we're launching a new series today, and it's called the Word Docs Challenge. And what we're going to do is have a look at some basic writing challenges along the lines of like what kinds of things would you do in class, like writing prompts, advice, all the kind of basics that get you started on a novel or a story or a book or a film or whatever you're writing. And we're going to try them out. So we thought we'd find some and then give them a go and then report back on how we found them. And Sean, what rating system do we have?
So we have 3 criteria by which we'll be judging these messages. The first one is, did Alex choke to death? No, it's not did Alex choke to death, although that's
I'm very sorry. Do you want to? Yes, I'm sorry.
The first one is the wank factor. Does this advice appear to be so wanky that no one could seriously be expected to follow it? And one of the judges of the wank factor will be who, Alex?
Will be Jeanette Vickery-Howe, although I haven't told her yet, because I think she is the reigning queen of deciding what is and is not worth investing time in.
She's also
like your career.
Yeah, she's also extremely cynical and not afraid to say what she thinks. So the wank factor is number 1. The second criteria is the DNF factor, or the did not finish factor. Like, was it just not quite up to snuff, good enough to give it a go, but you didn't actually see it all the way through. And the third factor is the reread factor. Like, would you actually do this again? Did you find it valuable enough to go for a repeat experience? So there are 3 criteria. Oh,
very clear.
Thanks, Alex. Oh, golly,
Yes.
thanks.
There's some quality podcasting there.
You're doing good at being friendly this week and less aggressive.
Am I?
That's great.
I was supposed to be aggressive. Damn.
So this week, I thought we'd start with the Irish best-selling novelist Marian Keyes, who just this year, in 2021, has launched a series on her Instagram. So she announced it on the 8th of January, and it's called So You Want to Write a Novel, which clearly is not as great a title as the Word Docs Challenge, but it's a pretty good title.
And it is something we want to do. We all want to write novels this year.
We do.
Yeah, so this will come in handy.
Well, I'm just getting into one again. Sean, you're just starting one?
Well, I'm just waiting to hear back from my publisher as to whether I do have to write it this year, but I would like to write it anyway. So,
and Alex is finishing up a book, and then you're starting a play, right?
I'm starting a play and finishing up a book. That's right. I just repeated what you said, but in the opposite order. But that is indeed correct.
You said it in such a lovely, friendly way, though, that I'll let you get away with that. So all of us, as Sean said, are starting projects. So we're gonna do these challenges, and hopefully you at home might follow along with us. So you can find Marian on Instagram under Marian, MARIAN _Keyes, Vickery-Howe. And she started it on the 11th of January. So you're not too far behind, hopefully. And if you're listening to this in a couple of years, you can still find it on Instagram. That's the nature of the beast. So basically what Marian Keyes is offering is weekly challenges in a 4-week course on the basics of plot, characterization, dialogue. And she's also going to talk about motivation, self-doubt and fear. So these are all things that we're obviously obsessed with because you hear us rabbit on about them all the time.
Particularly fear.
Yeah, particularly fear. We may come back to that one. So we're going to use the first writing prompt and I'm going to read it to the boys and then we're going to go away and try this. You can look up her other writing prompts on her Instagram and give them a go at home. And then feel free to go onto our social media and let us know what you thought of them as well, or to join along with Marian for the rest of the month. So the first writing prompt, everyone got their pen and paper ready?
Yep, I've got mine ready.
The donuts.
He's so keen.
Oh, God.
The donuts
The
are not what they
donuts
seem. Oh, no, the donuts.
had failed to de-escalate the situation.
The donuts had failed to de-escalate the situation.
So what do you think this means? Is it a gnomic utterance? Is it a general life principle? Is it a writing prompt? Is it
I think it's a writing prompt.
Oh, it's a writing
It's my
prompt.
gut instinct. So the idea now is people that you go away and do what we like to call automatic writing. So you take out your pen and paper, you use that as a prompt and you see what comes out. And the idea is not to judge yourself with writing prompts, but to just go and see what happens and write for as long as you'd like. We're going to write for 5 minutes and then see how we go. We will not leave you sitting in silence. We'll
the sound
come
of our
back and let you
scratching
know how we
nibs.
go. And after we've done this, we're going to come back and we're also going to talk to you about our history with writing prompts, how we use them to teach and whether we find them useful. So ready, everyone? You're going to go and write. The donuts had failed to de-escalate the situation.
The donuts had failed to de-escalate the situation.
Welcome back, everyone. So while the boys are finishing up on their 5-minute writing exercise, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Marian Keyes. I don't know if any of you have read her books, but she's a best-selling author from Ireland and she writes what once was called chick lit, but is probably called women's fiction now. And she writes these very sprawly, kind of funny, complicated families. So the one book I read last year, which I actually really loved, was called The Break and was about a couple who had sort of teenage kids who took a break from their relationship for a year and what happens in that time. And she deals with some really interesting issues like blended families, abortion, which is illegal in Ireland.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Did it just change?
Oh, when we
that's
were there
amazing.
a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
it
you
did.
go.
It did.
Brilliant.
A little while ago, yeah.
It's so fantastic.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah, it
well,
is.
anyway, she was quite provocative at the time. So this writing prompt, this series she's doing, a lot of writers do this kind of thing on their social, or they go and give classes at conventions or conferences, or they teach like we do at university. So writing prompts is something you come up a lot against as a writer. Don't you think you guys would have done them before?
Yeah. Done a
I
few
have
workshops.
seen them.
You've never done them before?
Oh, that's not quite true. I'll talk about my experience with writers' prompts in a sec.
Okay.
But I've certainly seen them and I've also inflicted them on other writers.
Yeah, I think we all inflict them.
I don't know if I've ever inflicted them. That's an interesting point. I don't know if I ever have.
Well,
Ever? That's interesting. So maybe we'll start with you, Alex, then.
Yeah.
And why not? Like, how was your experience of writing? And
Well, I really particularly liked that one. I think that was a really strong provocation. But why don't I inflict them? I think because they can become a little bit of a crutch, which is perfectly fine, I think, when you're starting out. But I was saying off air, I had a friend who texted me at 2:00 in the morning and wanted me to give them a writing prompt, and we can dissect what was actually going on there at our leisure. But I said no. And
Alex, please give me a writing prompt. Will you come over? I have coffee.
and then I wouldn't do it. I don't even know why I was awake or responding, but this person said, oh, well, how can you do anything without a prompt? And I thought, oh, that is very telling to me. So I think...
But not a telling of the right thing.
No,
Alex,
exactly.
again, you're completely missing what she was saying.
Missing what she was saying?
Oh, well,
Yeah,
sorry.
sometimes you
trying
think you're
to get
talking
a
about
prompt,
dramaturgy
Alex.
and you're not. Yeah, I know.
Prompt me, Alex. Where's the prompt?
But, so I guess that's been my... I'm glossing over this as quickly as I can.
But we're not letting you, Alex.
You're
We're
not letting me
you.
do it. You're not letting me do it. I'm guessing...
Which is exactly what she was thinking.
I think my reticence comes from, feeling like that perhaps forms a bad habit early is perhaps my thinking around it.
So what's the bad habit?
Really
Hold on,
love
come
them.
back. What's the bad habit there?
Bad habit, I think, is that, again, I'm walking into what I've just been talking about, but that you need a partner to do it properly.
But if you, underneath, yeah, I'm just going to let that lie. Underneath the
Sean's
Instagram
gone.
That's what
post,
Alex said.
Marian Keyes put a hashtag for hashtag writing prompt. And of course, if you just Google writing prompt, you can find like this one here that has 400 plus, 800 plus, 365 creative writing prompts. Like you don't necessarily need a partner. You can do it alone with the internet, Alex.
Oh, well done. Yeah,
that's hard to come
very
back from,
valid.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is hard to come back from. But yeah, I guess I've never really found them useful because I guess I don't know. I suppose the world's prompt does sound. Isn't that the most wanky sentence? The world is prompting me, so I don't need a sentence. But I guess.
So do you find it gets in the way of your own imagination?
That's probably what I'm trying to say. Using all sorts of bizarre double entendres, that is probably what I'm trying to say. Yes, I think it gets in the way.
But I think that can be useful. I think for people who are put off by the empty horror of a
The
white
yawning
page.
abyss of the page.
Of an empty page and don't have anything to write about, having a prompt can be really useful. And the one time I found it really useful was when a friend, Jeff Harris, local writer, once said, I've got a file of about 10,000 titles that I think sound really cool. But I haven't got stories attached to them yet.
I've got one of those, yeah.
Yeah, me too. And this is before I had my own. And I said, well, send me a title and I'll write the story to it. And he sent me the title, which was the Jackie Onassis Swamp Buggy Concerto. And and then I wrote the story and it was published and it's been reprinted numerous times. And I'm really proud of that story. And I think it's a fantastic title. So in that sense, it was a prompt. Well, in every sense, it's a writing prompt, and it was really useful for me. But I think a lot of writing prompts, like this one, like the donuts failed to de-escalate the situation, that reads like a really great first line.
Yes.
And the trouble with great first lines is where do you go from there? It's if you're already at 10 out of 10 on the sort of wow scale, it's only downhill from there. If your scale is
That's interesting. That's actually really interesting because I think that's true. Because when I was doing this, I was trying to think of set scenarios worthy of the line.
Yeah.
And
I got stuck on cops and then donut-shaped spaceships and then I don't know where I went from there, but it wasn't publishable.
I wonder if a lot of the appeal of them, like think about when we use them at work, is about discipline. Is about using it as an excuse to be disciplined about your writing. So I noticed when I was Googling them before, there's a lot that are based around one a day, like 365 to a year of writing prompts. And it's about disciplining you to just sit down and write every day, whether you feel it or not.
Yeah.
Which is valid, I think, yeah. But again, I guess I go back to that thing of there is a point, like I think that's a great stage, but there is a point where you have to let that go, I suppose. And I worry that some people I can't stop saying it, but need that partner or need that set of not training wheels, but that set of that
safety net
or scaffold. Yeah.
And they can feel like, I guess the risk is if you're doing a writer's prompt or a haiku a day or whatever, then you can feel like you're being productive. And you are productive by varying definitions of productivity. You are still writing. But if your goal is to, say, be a self-supporting novelist or an academic or something, doing these kind of things obsessively, religiously, unceasingly, it's not necessarily going to get you any closer to the goal. As Alex says, at some point you have to stop doing these little exercises and get on with doing your work.
Although I have to say, I go to conferences a lot, and at Romance Writers of Australia, they do a lot of writing workshops. So there's a big Friday workshop, and a lot of people refuse to write when they're given prompts and we have students too, where I know you kind of have to push them to do it, or they won't do it. They'll just sit there and wait through the time as everyone else writes. And I always found that I don't really get the point of an empty prompt either. Like, I just sit there and think I'm trying to find like cute, catchy things. We had to do it in honours. I remember we had a weekly writing workshop where our professor, Tom Shapcott, would set, like, he brought in grapes one week and we had to write about grapes, that kind of stuff.
Did he have to bring them in? Could he just said write about grapes?
Well, he got everyone to like taste them, and some other class had watermelon But it used to piss me off. I used to sit there going, I'm not paying all this money to come here and eat a grape and write about it. Like, I can do that on my own.
Grapes is okay, though, because if he came in with, like, asparagus or, like artichokes or something. Yeah,
something that might kill you.
Peanuts.
But what I learned over the years was to take whatever the prompt is and apply it to what I'm working on. So I went to a workshop with Anne Gracie years and years ago, like a decade ago, and I was working on what would become my first Western. And she did I can't even remember what it was now, but there was some writing exercise around dialogue. And I was like, right, well, I'll work on my book and I'll use that. And so I wrote this whole scene that ended up being the big climax of the book. Like, it's the big moment in the book. And I would not have got that scene without that prompt. And so now I've learnt to be a bit open to, if someone sets a writing prompt, go, okay, well, as a brainstorming exercise, how can I make that work with my current book? And often it will take you in directions you'd never go to on your own. So I wonder if the scaffolding's sometimes not a bad way to get you to go higher than you would otherwise go.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
What I did there? I worked the metaphor. That was not bad.
Matthews. Good work.
Well done.
Sorry, go on, Sean.
You go, Alex. No.
Oh, we're both being friendly. That doesn't work. No, you've got to go now because I'm being friendly.
Damn it.
You're
I'm
the
being
assertive
mean.
one. Remember, you're being aggressive.
Well, Alex, be quiet. You're saying something that I guess I wasn't aware that I was doing, Amy, that you're articulating, rather, that I hadn't actually consciously been aware that I was doing, which was to take writers' prompts, these kind of prompts, and do something that interests me with it. So I don't like the idea of free associating with writing. I'm not very good at doing that at all. I've done live writing and I really do like doing live writing, but I always want to know sort of where I'm going with it first. Yeah. So to be able to sit down and start off with the Doughnuts failed to de-escalate the situation. However, the werewolf achieved the exact opposite effect, where do I go from there? And that's when I get stuck. But if I sat down with this idea for a while and thought, well, this is going to be a story about the arrival of a donut factory in a town that has a gluten intolerant policy, then maybe I could tell something strange that might actually appeal to my sensibilities. Then I could do it.
Yeah, or if you're writing a novel set in Antarctica and you've got the line, the donuts failed to de-escalate the situation, that opens up an awful lot.
Well, it does. That's a great idea.
If you already know your characters and you already know your setting, I think these prompts can actually be quite exciting. It's the emptiness of just the line, I think. It's learning how to connect that to the other things you have going on.
I'm trying to marry it to a Star Wars context, like the donuts, Darth Vader's there.
Kylo Ren and donuts. Come on, that man. Can you imagine if they gave him glazed when he wanted chocolate?
What I was going to say before was I was at a
Jabba
workshop.
the Hutt. He's made for donuts.
No, Jabba the Hutt.
He's made of donuts.
I was at a workshop.
Or Boba Fett. Boba Fett is totally.
And Salacious Donut Crumb. How do you think he got his name?
See, I've opened the Star Wars store now, and they're food puns and Star Wars. I was at a
and
workshop.
Princess Leia's hair, Alex. What do they look like?
I do not like donuts or headphones. I was at a writer's
In this context,
workshop.
Alex, though, it'd be fair to say donuts.
We're not going to let you finish a sentence every time you start.
Once upon a time,
Come on. I want to hear the end of this one.
I was at a writer's workshop, and what I found interesting is when they say, here's a provocation, what did you just say?
I was going to say they had no donuts, so the situation continued to escalate forever. Sorry. And then I realised it was a stupid thing to say. And I cut myself, but then you asked me to say it.
And now we've made it a thing, and it's framed now. It's framed.
This is why I shouldn't do.
You guys have reverted. Alex is being aggressive and Sean's being friendly.
true.
Swap back now.
So what I'm trying to say is I was at a workshop
No,
once.
you can't say it.
You know what's sad about this? Is that it's been built up so much that I can't. I was trying to say.
We're back to your dating again, Alex. We keep coming there.
What I was trying to say is that it was interesting. He
interrupted himself.
Maybe imaginary Caleb could come and say it for you.
He wasn't there. He's only there when I'm alone. It was interesting how everyone had a different process. That was the sentence, people. That was it. That was it. In the sense that some people, like if you say, here's a provocation, some people become very studious and they get their laptops out. Like, oh, yes, the
Some
donuts.
get contrary. Fuck that. I'm not doing that.
Some people got contrary. Others left to get snacks with a kind of, fuck you, this will just happen in half an hour.
That would be Alex. That would
Were they
be
donuts?
Alex. You'd be. Yeah.
Bring the donut back and pass it off touch the donut. Feel the donut. No, that's the same as touching the donut. Smell the donut.
Was this the prompt you wanted?
Taste the donut.
Taste the donut. Anyway, my point being that everyone has a...
Sean's just flashing his elbows, everyone.
Sean just showed off his elbow.
I wish I had a
has
donut
a different process.
stick a donut on my wieners and wave it. And
You should never, ever stick a donut on your weenus.
This is, when Sean started this podcast, the idea was what do writers talk about when they're not in front of the classroom or on the festival stage?
And the truth
it's
is,
really sad.
It's erotic elbows, donuts, and
dating.
So, are we going to do our rating system? Are we there yet? Or you want to talk further about...
But let's go through the rating system because that's the way to unpack.
That's what it's for. Yeah, that's right.
Feelings.
So the first one was the Wank Factor, Alex, and we haven't asked your mother. Do we need to take a pause while you go check with Jeanette?
Should we take a little pause while
we should take a break and you go ask Jeanette Vickery-Howe, does she approve or not?
I'll put on some elevator music while Alex runs off to talk to Jeanette. Oh, Alex has come back into the room.
Does Jeanette Vickery-Howe approve?
No. Can I just back up a second? I can't whistle.
Oh, no, I couldn't whistle either.
How do you learn?
Well, I was at the World Science Fiction Convention in Melbourne in 1999, and I was sitting at a table with 9 other people, and they were all women, and they could all whistle. And I said, I'm really jealous of you ladies because you can whistle. And they said, well, one of them, Justine Labalestier, got completely cross with me and said, well, you should just teach yourself. You should just do it every day, practice until a whistle comes out. And I'm a little bit scared of Justine. She's one of my favourite friends. But I thought I'm going to take her advice. So I was thinking, well, when am I going to practice every day in order to, so I said, I will do it for a month. I'll do it for a month and see what happens. And
was there a prompt? Did you have a whistle prompt?
A whistle prompt? No, well, the thing I settled on was, what do I do every day where I have nothing else to do? And I thought, well, when I'm doing a wee. So I got into the habit of standing at the toilet going...
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, this story's going somewhere. Yeah. I know it is.
Does this involve a public urinal?
No, it's not going there. Well, I didn't do it in public because that would be really weird. If you're standing in a urinal making blowing noises, get yourself arrested like George Michael.
Just your wife and family think you're strange.
Thankfully, or it was before I was married. But then one day, out came a really wobbly whistle. And I finished my wee, but I jumped up and down.
He lost his aim. He hit the floor. No.
But I texted Justine and said, oh, my God, it worked. Just blowing every day in the toilet enabled me to whistle. So, Alex, maybe that's your prompt, is to do a little bit of blowing every day and you too will be able to whistle.
I'm so grateful for Sean's wisdom.
Unless you've got like biological, malformities that means you can't.
I could have biological malformities.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible
I've
that
just
I
rubbed
have
your nose
biological malformities. So Jeanette Vickery-Howe does not approve.
Now,
Get
why?
used to this sentence, by the way, because this has been my
It's the
life.
story of your life.
Yeah. Now, number one, she's playing a very competitive game of table tennis with my father. So
didn't want to be interrupted.
I wouldn't say she was totally engaged with the process, but her response was, "Oh, why can't people use their imaginations?"
But this is using your imagination.
Well, you want to argue with her because you won't win.
Is she winning the table tennis? If she's losing, I'm not going anywhere near her. But if
No,
she's winning,
she's thrashing him. She's
So
thrashing
she thinks this has her high wank. What did we call it?
high wank factor. Yes,
Wank factor.
because she believes that I'm extrapolating wildly from this one sentence, but she feels like creative work should be
Romantic.
all original and romantic,
Yes.
and shouldn't be propped up by anybody else's work.
Yes.
I'm out of a job.
We all are. We all are. But it points to the general Jeanette Vickery-Howe attitude of you pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And
Do you know what I think we should end the whole series with? Is Jeanette setting us a prompt. Or giving us a piece of advice that we have to follow for a week.
Just
Except
write
we
a
get, we
good
clean
story.
the shower.
clean the shower after every shower. Don't complain and write a bestseller because that'll be good for you.
Well, that sounds
All right.
perfectly
I'll
reasonable.
take that one.
No, so I would say then that's a high wank factor. What would you call that? An 8 or a 9? Like it wasn't damning. I wouldn't say that was
I
damning.
wouldn't. So Jeanette Vickery-Howe does not approve, but I thought that was okay. Like I thought it had a sense of humour. It gave you a hook. I thought it had a low wank factor, that one.
So would you give it a 2 out of 10 for wank?
Well, it didn't blow. I'd probably give it in the middle. It's like a
middle,
5
kind of
out
Oh,
of 10.
is it medium, Amy?
It's a medium.
It's a medium.
Exactly. Well, prompts, I think prompts are great when you start out, like we were saying. So if you were just starting out, I think that would be
Yes,
low wank.
I'd agree with that. And I think because
agree with that
everything
too.
gets better with practice, like blowing in the toilet. And same with writing. The more you kind of do it, the better you get it. The better at it you get in terms of sentences and word use, and that kind of practice is really invaluable. So I agree. When you're starting out, it's a great idea.
I remember saying in a very early episode of this podcast, it was probably around that the question of where do you get your ideas, and I rolled my eyes and launched into some kind of monologue. But this one is kind of similar to me in the sense that how do I say this without sounding ridiculous?
Just sound ridiculous.
Come on.
Do you listen to our episodes?
It's a question I should ask myself more often, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose for me, it's like I'm so hyper sort of stimulated by things around me that the idea of a prompt, I know. The idea of a prompt is sort of restrictive, but I do take the point that wouldn't be everyone's experience, and certainly when you're starting out and you just want to kind of focus your thoughts, that makes sense. So I think you're right. I think it has a low
Wank factor.
wank factor.
What's interesting to me is that you spent so much of last year doing a project with the State Theatre, which was all about prompts.
Didn't like it though.
That's
I didn't
right.
like it. I mean, I didn't like that aspect of it. I think the only prompt, I mean, you needed
And
that.
you started having fun by just being bullshitting. To do whatever I want with this
How
one.
can I subvert the prompt? But the more interesting, stimulating. This is the Decameron project that happened last year. The actual prompt that was the most interesting to me is the 1 week they told me what actor I had,
Yeah, right.
and I thought I don't need a provocation. Just tell me who it is. And then it was an actor that I hadn't really met. I had met but didn't know. And I thought, okay, let's do something interesting, having seen her perform. So that was almost in a way more exciting than the actual prompt. But within the framework of the Decameron, it was all about the prompts, and that was part of the process.
I guess a prompt can be a constraint too, and instead of being a place to start off from into the infinite void of ideas and creativity, it can shut you down all sorts of possibilities, and you don't necessarily want it to be that.
And the rule of thumb should always be, does it work for me? And if it's not working, don't do it.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
what are the other things we had? What other ratings did we have?
So the second rating was the DNF factor, the did not finish. So for me, I'll go first with the DNF factor. I'm just riffing now while Alex comes back so he knows what we're doing. So I'll go first with the DNF factor. This isn't an exercise that I finished. I did spend a bit of time thinking about how I'd try to find something new to do with Cops and Doughnuts, which is kind of where it seemed to be going. But I didn't have the brilliant inspiration that you had of, Amy, of connecting it to Antarctica or something else. So.
My problem was that I'm writing historical Western at the moment, so I couldn't really fit the Doughnuts in.
One of our listeners is going to be a historian and will say,
I know, and they'll be like, there were Doughnuts.
Doughnuts in Deadwood, come on. Deadwood Doughnuts is a franchise all across America.
So this is the DNF rating.
Yes.
Well, I did it, but
But if you were on your own in the wild, would you have done it? No, probably not.
No, if I was on
so that would be a DNF for Alex.
Yeah, that's true.
So this would actually be quite high on the DNF rating for us, wouldn't it? So it might be like
I think this is a stage of career thing, right? Though, because I only do writing prompts and I think a lot of people may be similar. Only do them if they're stuck in a room and someone makes them do them. Mm-hmm. But then I quite enjoy them if I'm made to do them.
And the Essay Writer Centre used to have a jar of writing prompts sitting on the front desk, and some people really liked them and would come in and would get them, little slips of paper with a writing prompt. So, and if you were stuck, you could go get it. I don't like the idea of being forced to use it, but I like the idea that they might exist.
Judging by the internet, they're very popular.
Yeah.
We're outliers then.
Well, maybe it's different for us because we're professional writers and we do it as a career. So we kind of have learned how to get ourselves writing when we have to. But some people just enjoy writing, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do
set them. I wouldn't normally set them, but if I was left on my own, I'd probably do them now and then. But actually, I've found students really like them.
Yeah, I'd never set them. Maybe I should.
When I stop setting them, people ask me if I could set them. So then I think, oh, well, I'll just do it and they can do it if they want to.
Do they ask you at 2 a.m.?
Don't have that kind of relationship with my students, Alex.
They're all blocked. Well, the third criteria is so we've got a sort of a middling wank factor. We've got quite a high DNF factor depending on where you are in the career. The reread factor. Would we do this exercise again? And I can sort of tell where we're probably going to go with this one. I wouldn't seek out
Not this exact one.
No.
But I am enjoying following it on Instagram. Like I'm enjoying watching it happen.
Yes.
I think it's a good teaching tool. And so in that sense, yes, you could bring it to a classroom, but it's not something that I would do as part of my own practice. I don't think. I never have.
What about if you were stuck? Have you ever been stuck where you thought that you might need a prompt of some kind? Have you ever read a craft book or anything where you thought,
we've not really talked about writer's block much on this show, have we? I tend to go...
There's an episode,
but I tend to go for walks.
Yes.
And the other thing and this is a Stephen Moffat-ism that I've read, is he loves, and you can actually see this with a lot of Stephen Moffat's work, he loves leaving a story, if this makes sense. So, you create an episode or a few scenes, you leave the story and come back from a completely different angle. And he does this a lot with his two-parters in Doctor Who.
Absolutely he does, yeah.
And often if I'm stuck, no matter what the work is, I'll go for a walk and go, what if, obviously this character's not working or this point of view is not working or I've hit something. What if I step back and look at this narrative from the side somewhere? And I often find that's a way to re-engage. And I don't know if this is true of you two, but there's often a character you particularly like who's very easy to write, and then there's others that I may struggle with. So sometimes I'll just fall back and shift to someone else. So that's what I do. So I probably wouldn't fall back on prompts in this way. It's more about point of view and long walks, I suppose.
Yeah. So this has been our first episode where we're looking at the Word Docs writing challenges. And today we've been looking at prompts, but as Alex has alluded to there's a lot of other things. There's a lot of other strategies that people use and techniques, and there are a lot of books that I'm sure are on our bookshelves. I'm sure that we can dig up and try some other challenges. I thought I'd leave us with one that Marian Keyes did on the 22nd of January that actually just tickled my fancy, which she called something a bit different, where she's basically asked people to mock up a cover for the book that they want to write.
See, that idea I love.
Yeah, you lit up there.
I love that
she
idea.
Says, you've done a lot of creative work over the past 10 days. Now for a bit of fun, you're going to create a cover for your novel, a title, your name, whatever images you'd like. Have fun. And I have to admit that I love playing around with images, so that would be fun.
That's a brilliant idea. See, I'm much keener on that idea. Yeah.
That's a great way of conceptualizing where you fit in the market too, of going, what genre am I? What tone is it?
Yes.
How does it feel?
How does it feel? What shelf are you on? Who are you with? You know, all of that stuff.
Alex is buzzing now.
Yeah, that is.
Maybe we should all go home
live.
and do that one.
Yeah, don't do that for 6 months. You've actually got to write the book.
Oh, yeah, you have to write something. But I love working with designers for that reason. I love turning things into visual images. Yes.
That's interesting. I do too. Anyway, thank you for joining us for the first episode of the Word Docs Challenge. It's been interesting.
I think we've got a little bit of wrinkles to iron out, but it's certainly been fun. I think we'll have to get Jeanette on the show at some point.
Yeah,
I'll see if I can coax her away from the tennis table. I think it's actually really interesting. I was thinking as we're doing this, this is a show all about us as educators and as writers, but I think it's just a reminder of what a difficult brat of a student I must have been.
I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that exercise.
I don't want to do that. Yeah. I don't see the point of this.
Exactly.
I don't see the point of you.
Thank you to Marian Keyes, and we want to give her a shout out. If you're interested in writing prompts or any of those other fun things that she's doing for a month to get us all back to writing in the new year, you can find her at Marian_Keyes on Instagram, or just Google it. It will come up because she's a bestseller. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Thanks for doing the donuts, guys. I really appreciate it.
Anytime there are donuts, you can count me aboard.
Thank you for having us, and we'll see you next time. Or we won't see you. You'll hear from us.
Yes.
We won't even hear you.
Spooky. You'll hear from us when we text you for writing prompts at 2 a.m.
And what did we say, Alex, when someone texts us at 2 a.m. for a writing prompt? Your boundaries are a bit off. It's 2 a.m.
Oh, you got to live. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Why don't you write when you don't need money? All your notes sound alike too much. All of them starts with I love you, honey, but they end with the same old touch. Just for a change, send a nice loving letter and cut out that please remit. Why don't you write when you don't need money, honey? That would certainly make a hit.
He's not being aggressive enough.
No, you got to be forceful about that.
Thanks, Amy. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, okay. And I'll be Sean and say it's been a pleasure.
Now faint.
It's been now faint just randomly. It's been a pleasure, and I always enjoy talking with you both, and I look forward to seeing you both and sharing more with you in future episodes of Word Docs.
Very friendly. Well done.
Wonderful.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.